With the consistent increase in the utilization of the contingent workforce, we're seeing mass adoption of formal contingent workforce programs. Here are my top 9 tips for running a successful program. Hi, my name is John Clark. I'm the President and CEO of Conexis VMS. Tip number 1, HR and procurement should work in collaboration. One of the biggest discussions in our industry is who should own a contingent workforce program, HR or procurement. Now, both of these teams have various priorities and different motivators for making a contingent workforce program work. HR should be focused on many things around co-employment, risk, compliance, process, whereas procurement should be focused on the vendor management aspect, obviously cost optimization, but really should be invested in things like process and the business outcomes like time to fill, which again would cross over with HR. So they really should work in collaboration, ensuring that the collective needs are considered and then focus on a common goal. Tip number 2, engage with a third party or an outside provider if you need it. Most companies don't have inside or internal expertise, and really they should engage someone with expertise like you do in many other areas of your business. There are many options to do this. Engage with an MSP, for example, particularly if you're a Gen 1 type program, you've never done this before, you're getting things off the ground. MSPs are extremely valuable, extremely knowledgeable to help with that sort of Generation 1, Phase 1 type implementation. Or the option exists to engage with many outside consultants, and there are lots of options. People with experience in your industry, your job categories, your systems of choice, etc. So you should really leverage those expertise if you do not have them in-house. Tip number 3, invest in a VMS. Of course, I would say that. However, it really is a critical component to building a successful and best-in-class contingent workforce program. You can run a program with an MSP, you can run a program without an MSP and do it on your own, but really you cannot run a program without a vendor management system. It underpins the entire solution, provides that automation, the centralization, visibility, reporting, analytics, and really is a critical component of any successful and modern contingent workforce program. Tip number 4, ensure your VMS is used across your entire organization. If the program becomes voluntary or non-mandatory, and maybe there's pockets without a vendor management system, this really affects the entire success of your program and really can defeat some of the purpose of the centralization, the consolidation, the visibility, the consistency. So a big part of advice would be when you're doing a VMS, try and use it as broadly as you can across your organization. Tip number 5, have clear and consistent business processes, policies and procedures across your organization. These should be clear, concise, detailed enough that provides managers or end users with all the information they need, but really acts as your operating manual for your entire program. So anyone at any level in the organization can reference this, can follow it, and they know exactly what to do. Tip number 6, really important to track the performance of your program, both of your vendors and internally. Tracking vendor performance is critical to ensure you can see which vendors are rising to the top, taking away opinion-based decisions and using the data and the facts to make those decisions. But also it's very important to compare them against their peers, to see how they're benchmarking, but it's really important to track the internal piece as well. My favorite metric in this is time to fill, which really is a very important metric in a contingent workforce program, but should be shared between the vendors, the program, and the business. An example being vendors may submit profiles within 24 hours, but your time to fill is 3 or 4 or 5 weeks. What's causing that bottleneck? Identifying the root cause and using the data to make fact-based decisions. Tip number 7, build strong vendor relationships. This is incredibly cliche, but really use your vendors as partners. It's much better to engage with long-term strategic vendors where you can build relationships, engage feedback from the market, have open, honest discussions. And when that happens in every scenario, programs run much better. The best programs I've ever worked on are programs where clients treat their vendors like true partners, open, honest, two-way dialogue. Sometimes you have to come down on them, but really if there's issues, it's about helping everyone collectively improve. The vendors want to keep their business and grow their business, and you want high performance. Use those metrics to bring it back to the facts, and bring it back to the metrics that matter to take your program to the next level. Tip number 8. You should audit your vendors. I've seen many examples where clients have an incredibly strong and robust onboarding process, and once the vendor starts, that process really dissipates. So making sure you engage with the vendors often, not too often, but often, to conduct audits on things like pay stubs, insurance, background checks. There's no point in having it in your contract if no one ever checks it. Also keeps those vendors honest and accountable, and make sure they're super diligent on their processes and they cross their T's and dot their I's. Tip number 9. Choose your staffing agencies very carefully. My opinion is you should have a very strong vendor mix. What that means is you shouldn't have 3 vendors that are very similar. Big, giant global vendors, for example. It's nice to have a healthy mix. Maybe you have some vendors with specialization in a specific geography or job category. Maybe you have vendors that have broad reach that can cover you in many different areas. It's really important that you have that healthy mix. I'm also an advocate for smaller vendors that maybe provide sort of niche or local service, that are very hungry and motivated to work on your business, and having that collective vendor mix really rounds your program and ensures you can follow the metrics and make sure that it works. There we go. Those are my 9 top tips for running a contingent workforce program. I have many more ideas and could go deeper and wider on all of these subjects, so please, if anyone has any questions, feel free to contact me. Thanks.